You're watching Trader of the Week. I'm Zinati Guma, up for technical analysis this week. Brent crude oil, Sasol and Omnia. And joining us with her analysis is Moxima Gama, Senior Technical Analyst at the Money Hub. Thank you so much for your time, Moxima. I'm not surprised that you're actually looking at the oil market really today because of all the chaos and uncertainty and volatility that's happening on the geopolitical space. Of course, we know that all eyes are on the Middle East and particularly on the oil market, of course, which could have an escalation could have very damaging consequences, particularly looking at the inflation picture and economic growth. But it's actually been interesting because the oil price has actually not been accelerating the way that I had expected it, and maybe a lot of people had expected.
True, and I also expected gold to accelerate. You know,
yes, exactly.
It's just very mute. I mean, still on its high top. So, as you said, the reason why I've mentioned Brent crude is for this geopolitical tension that's happening.
Yes.
You know, Iran kind of is one of the biggest oil producers, I think 4% globally. So we obviously are going to be affected. However, though we're not seeing signs, the extensive upside,
yes,
there are signs that something is brewing and that we should potentially anticipate an escalate. Maybe not. You know what? You never know. Because right now, I'm just like, it's going to go up, but then Sasol fell 12% this morning. Sure. So it's just like, okay, just when you think things are going this direction, they go. So there's going to be a lot of uncertainty. Yeah. So based on this, I'm giving you probabilities of what could potentially happen. I wouldn't quickly rush into, let's say, Sasol, for example. Yes. I'd be nibbling into it. But the reason why I've also mentioned Omnia is because of a negative correlation it has with oil. But it also just is sneaky in a sense that in geopolitical times, Omnia might come out, might outperform. Okay. It has been outperforming in that sector. Yes, so let's just get into it because let's start off with Brent crude.
Yes,
and
base of everything.
So I'm using the weekly chart here. Yes. And what I'm trying to establish at this point is it breaking out of that long-term bear trend that it's been in. And this bear trend particularly, though it reached a high at $138 per barrel, but in June, particularly 2022, then started that slide.
Can't even remember those times.
I know, right? And I mean, it just started that slide and then went a bit mellow and plateaued, but it was on the downside. Prices were reducing at the point. And it just seems as if it kind of met a bit of support at 55 and is starting to peak back upwards. So there could have been a continuation of the downside if there wasn't this particular thing happening with the Middle East. So at this point, if you look at the chart, this particular from last week actually, including this week, it just recently breached that trend line that is dated back from 3 years ago. And that itself is already giving us an indication that there's some buying momentum coming through. So there is some demand because because with Iran the way it is that there's going to be a supply disruption, and when there is a supply disruption that creates demand. So that's something we need to look at and not. Yes, you're right, it's not going up in a hurry, but the fact that it's broken out of a 3-year bear trend it's just broken out. That's another thing. Is a bit concerning in a way. Yeah. Not possibly for shares, but just as our well-being. Yes. So on that downward slide, and I think it was basically last week, including this week, that we see that breakout. But we just need to know that the weekly RSI is potentially going to pull back. And that is the one that's going to give us a deciding factor on whether this is going to start its journey upwards or it was just a false break and reversal. So this means at least for the next 3 weeks, we would know precisely if oil is now embarking on a new bull channel or it's still kind of mute in this sideways pattern that it was originally in. So this RSI being overbought could see oil possibly pull back to 68. Yeah. But if it does so and then holds above 68, that's the part we need to then keep an eye on. Because if it does that, then it's going to be that natural progression of the demand start coming in. So if it encounters incredible support at 68, we could then see it go back up and a positive breakout. In other words, a sign that means this is the end of the 3-year bear trend would then be given at $82. Okay. From there onwards, we could then see that progression straight through 87 towards 95, and it, to 109.
Yeah.
So what I'm basically saying at this point is 68 is a very key level that we need to keep an eye on.
And right now it's at
it's currently, it was at 76.
Okay.
So 68 is a key level that, I mean, you can literally see how many times it's held at 68. If it bounces from that RSI, overbought territory coming off, if it bounces there, we could either see it continue on the sideways mark, so it's 68 and 82.
Okay.
Above 82, if you start seeing oil trade above 82 or 83, 85, just know it's completed, it's confirmed that bear breakout, and we're now on our way upwards. So with this being said, let me just mention the alternative scenario is that if it does trade below 68, then this particular little break there would be seen as a false break and reversal. And we could then potentially go to 55 again. But 58 and 82 are key levels. So those are the two. 82 means upside is in the offing. 68, below 68 means it was a false break, and it will then return into the bear trend.
It's going to be very interesting to see how things play out on that supply side, because obviously you talk about this potential disruption in oil supply, but also, I mean, with that, there's so many moving parts that OPEC now also is increasing production. So it kind of feels like things are cancelling each other out at this point. But I guess it all depends on whether this escalates in the region.
But the market will always try and find something to
to
do, to react. Whatever. It doesn't account that much, but you'll see.
Okay.
So those are the key levels we need to watch out for. If nothing really happens to oil, it will just dwindle, or rather trade between 82 and 68.
All right.
Until either levels are breached is when we'll see distinctive movement.
Okay. Now that we have seen the situation and the alternative, the scenarios on the actual Brent crude oil price, let's drill into Sasol. At this point, is all that Sasol is trading on the oil price?
There's a huge positive correlation with oil price and Sasol. And also, Sasol has pulled back quite a lot. I mean, Sasol used to trade at 650, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, to be trading at below 80 rand.
Yes.
And I won't lie to you, I've been waiting for...
I know, yes.
I think it's all of us. I speak for many of us that have been waiting for that turnaround in Sasol. And Sasol is deep in debt, which is a worry. And it hasn't issued dividends, dividends for a while.
And now they've even moved the can in terms of where debt should be, in order for them to start paying out dividends.
I mean, they're already in debt for $4 billion US dollars.
Yeah.
And that's dollar based. That's in rand.
Yeah.
So it is something that would scare you off an investment like that. But I'm just saying that if oil starts trading up, 82, Sasol will have that. It will forget those fundamentals and start picking up with that because of that positive correlation between the two. Now, let me move on to Sasol here. Oh, sorry. That was another explanation there. But this is just a part of its bear trend, which is much huge, it's bigger than this. But this little break there, this particular break is very important.
Okay.
Because then it's a sign that there is some buying appetite that's coming in.
Yes.
And in most cases, it's a lot of the clever money. People cannot move monies quickly, so they'll start nibbling into. So you can see that just from this. And the retail clients will probably come in when it's already in a bull trend.
Yes.
But the best opportune time is actually pick it up when the clever money is getting
nibbling.
in.
Okay.
So this breakout itself, as I said, is insinuating that there's some buying appetite that's coming through. Excuse me, a positive breakout, in fact, would then be confirmed at 85.15 and 108. Okay. So if it continues to trade above any of those two levels, I think it's an opportune time to start nibbling. Getting a few, don't go aggressive with it in terms of buying it.
Yeah, it's not
or
for
investing it because of the ins and outs we're seeing and the uncertainty. But you could start nibbling into it because I do feel it as an establishment. It's a one-stop shop. It's going to be a global one-stop shop.
Yeah.
In terms of synthetic fuels and and with this Lake Charles, once it's complete.
Yes, which they are working on.
Yeah, they're working on. I mean, that's the reason why they're in debt. So once that happens, the RSI is saying this is not the time to get in. It fell by 12% this morning. So I'm really assuming it's because I updated this chart last night.
It just keeps sinking.
So but the pullback is fine for this point in order to give us an earlier entry to buy should get there. So I'm suspecting it'll probably at most pull back to 72.55. And if it holds above 72.55, then that's a sign that we should start getting in. At 85.15 as well as 108, and that could then start that natural progression upwards. Because I mean, it has from 652, 648 to 80. I mean, it even fell down to 53.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
You know, it is a hot donut at this point, despite if you just look at it in terms of the chart and not the fundamental reasons for it.
Okay, all right, I see it, because sometimes those...
Yeah, and then you're thinking, what's so you don't want to get into that, those company squabbles.
Yeah.
But the alternative scenario is if it really pulls back below 72, it means don't invest in Sasol as yet. Because then it's probably going to just...
keep sinking.
Trade sideways, not necessarily keep sinking, but maybe it will keep sinking if it falls below 34 Rand.
Okay.
But if it doesn't, if it holds at 72, it's probably going to trade sideways. But at around 105, I would say is a time to start getting in. If it trades above there. But as I said, if it falls anything below 75 and 34, it's not the time to be getting in with Sasol. So it could fall about 20 to about 53, should it pull back through 72.55.
This is very, very useful because a lot of our viewers are holders of Sasol and they really just don't want to get rid of it.
No, and I wouldn't suggest that at all. I wouldn't suggest that. It's positively correlated to Brent crude, and if Brent crude just trades above, let's just say the psychological level being 85, just know that Sasol is going to follow suit quite swiftly with that.
Just a final note, I think it's also quite interesting that Sasol has this strong correlation to Brent crude, because I think last year, at least, it didn't have so much of a correlation. There was a kind of a dilutive effect with the chemicals, but it's very interesting now to see that it's back.
Like I said, the market likes a topical thing too, because of this.
Hold on to,
But that correlation is quite strong between the two. And also, Brent crude has been falling, so that's why Sasol has also, now that if you look at it, there's probably, the graph is looking very similar.
Okay, all right. Well, let's move on to Omnia. Just talk to me about the reason why you put Omnia in here.
So the reason why I put Omnia is because Omnia literally has a very negative effect to Brent crude, the correlation. Rather, let me just put it that way. And it has been outperforming. They're in the same sector, and it has been outperforming Sasol.
Yes.
But the thing is, Omnia is a bit of a tricky one, because if gold continues to go up and platinum now, which is an alternative precious metal, if those continue to go up, irrespective of Brent crude going up, because Omnia is still, produces explosive for mining, so that will take precedence. Not the fact that it's negatively correlated.
And because also they did say that the mining segment is growing in terms of its contribution to profitability as well. So I would
So the only part that affects the Brent crude affects is the petrochemical inputs, the costs of that. But if it's outshined by gold or platinum that's going up, then it could just take that. But if it doesn't, that's a time to get out of Omnia and start getting into Sasol. So there would be a switch. So you need to keep an eye on Omnia for those reasons. And I'll tell you at what particular point in time would you then feel, if you're invested in it already, that maybe it's time to get out. So also broke out quite sooner than Sasol, right there. That was in September 2021. It peaked at 75, pulled back, but it seemed to hold at 51.85, and then is now in this bull channel.
Yeah.
And every time you see it tests the upper slope, it has a tendency to pull back. RSI also extremely overbought. There we go. Once it breaches that upper slope, it's just the characteristics of a resistance that is breached, then we could see steep upside with Omnia. But RSI is saying not yet, I'm possibly going to pull back. And if it pulls back lower than what have I got there, 74.40, then it means don't get in yet. But I would just say the key level, and I would suggest this for, if you're in Omnia, stay in.
Yes.
If you're not invested in it, I think the only time to actually get in is at 87.75, because then that means it's ended this bullish channel that it's in, and it's going to start a steeper uptrend. And that's when we could then see that natural progression to other levels. But if Omnia does not trade above 87.55, it means you need to start offloading it. Because then Sasol, which is positively correlated to, will then come into play. So if it does go above 87.75, you have both of these. You're making money on both.
Okay.
But just be careful with Omnia for those reasons, because really, if it does fall below 74.40, we could see it fall down to the lower slope of its bull channel, and below there, below 51.85. If you're still invested in Omnia and it's trading at below 51.85, you need to get out.
Yeah, and go for an opportunity.
Yeah, go for another opportunity. So that's what I'm seeing at this point, that with Omnia, I'll become completely bullish once it trades above 87.75. But if it doesn't, I think it's time to offload and start nibbling into Sasol, because it is really at juicy levels and it has a lot of upside potential. And it's just its establishment is not, and it's also positive, as I keep saying.
Yes.
And if that oil price goes up, then we're probably going to see good returns. So this is basically how it would look. 82.60 would be the key mark for Brent crude, but if it goes below 68, then it's still in its bear trend.
All right. You are very, very interesting.
A bit intense, sorry.
No, listen, we get it. Thank you so much, because this is actually what we need in these uncertain times. Everything is so volatile, so we need to see where we can find opportunity and what to let go of at what level. So thank you so much for your time and for your technical analysis today, Moxima. That was the Money Hub's Moxima Gama. And that's all for this week's segment, but do stay tuned for lots more coming up right here on Business Day TV.